Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I am Karena Calhoun. I am your expert life strategist. This is Go Be Great with Coach Karena. And today I have a very special guest. As usual, you all know I love the folks that come on to the show. We have an awesome time, and today is not going to be any different. Today I have Amy Sedgefield on the show. Amy, how are you today?
I am great. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I love it. So tell us, where in the world are you today?
I am located in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about Tulsa, Oklahoma.
So my husband and I moved here about it'll be 7 years in Thanksgiving. And I have to say, it's a great community. And we moved from Singapore to here. So it was a bit of a change, a bit of a shift. I'm also from Las Vegas. So there it's quieter. The liquor laws were a little different at that point. And so that was kind of a weird thing for me. But I really enjoyed it. We have now a almost 4-year-old. And so it's a fantastic place to raise a family. In 7 years, we've made a really fantastic community and some really wonderful friends. And so it's been a great place, and it's thriving. It's fantastic to see people moving here, things open, all kinds of interesting restaurants and food concepts, and all the tall cranes building big buildings downtown, which people have told me hasn't happened in a long time. So it's really cool to see that people are recognizing what a great spot we are. And so I've really enjoyed watching it grow and flourish as we have too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. And God bless you, a 4-year-old. Oh my goodness. God bless you on that. My
This
baby is 24, should be 25 this year. So I cannot imagine. I am patiently waiting to be a grandma. So
Well, you've survived to 24, so there's hope for me. The three-nager that comes with a 3-year-old is a
oh my
whole
goodness.
new level of sass. I'm not prepared for teenage years. But he's fun, but he is a little sass pants sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can tell you it does not change because
Perfect.
they go from that to then becoming your parent.
Yeah, we're there. I get told how to drive.
So that is amazing. So Amy, tell us how you are serving the world recently.
So multiple ways. I mean, we have a podcast and a business called Last Night's Game, where we truly help people who don't know a lot about sports but want to talk about them join that conversation. And it's football season, so that is top of mind to a lot of people. And so we are really truly working to communicate and help people communicate and make those connections. And that's the one thing I really love about sports, is the
Mhm.
fact that it's a great foray into a conversation. Then you can turn it whatever direction you want very easily into something that you love. And so, I would say, like, you can go in, and if you're in Chicago, you can say, hey, are you a Cubs fan? Are you a Bears fan? Whatever that might be. But then you can turn that into, well, where do you like to eat? Where do you like
Mhm.
to travel? I mean, it's such an easy foray into so many different categories: fashion, celebrity gossip, whatever you want it to be, you can take it that direction. But that's my sort of day job. But one of my passion projects that I'm working on, or one of the things that I really love, I love empowering our next generation. It's really important for me to be that source and be that mentor, but be that honest person available for feedback for those who are coming up through their career. And so that's kind of was very informal. And then I'm now teaching as an adjunct professor at Oklahoma State University, teaching women and minorities in entrepreneurship. So this will be my first time teaching. And so that's a whole nother can of worms to be truly responsible for the next generation. But it's been something. I went back to get my MBA so I could do that. And so that was something that I've always wanted to do. So we'll see. I haven't fallen on my face yet, but there's still time.
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, I want to correct something. I do believe I mispronounced your last name. Can you correct me on that?
It's Siegfried, like Siegfried and Roy.
Gotcha.
And that's
Gotcha.
okay. It happens all the time. My maiden name is Butchon, so that gets slaughtered all the time too. So
I get I completely get it. But I did want to make sure that I did clarify that. So you talked about sports and things like that. My mom, my mom was an avid Braves fan as I
oh,
was growing up. And when I
mhm.
say avid, it was
She
almost to nauseating, to be honest. because we would literally be in the house, and of course, I don't know if they do this now, but there was never any harm meant by it because this is what they were doing at the time. But when I was a young girl, and my mom and my dad would be watching a Braves game, they would have their tomahawks and they would be doing
The
no,
tomahawk chop. Yep.
yeah, and then they had the license plate, on the tag, and they had paraphernalia. And when I say they had to be dressed from head to toe during a game, it was unbelievable. And every TV in the house, except for the one in my bedroom, had to be on the game loud, really loudly, so that at
God
any
forbid you
point,
miss something. I mean,
goodness. So, that is, and she played softball when she was in the army, my mom. So, that I'm gonna have to tell her about this conversation that
I love it. Well, it's
want
really
her
fun.
to do.
I was gonna say it's really funny you talk about people that are just complete avid fans. When I worked for the Arizona Diamondbacks, we changed the colors of the team. They went from a teal color to sort of the Sedona red, black colors that they are now. And there was a hotline where people could call and complain. And it was, I mean, but it was so amazing because you had these people who, in all fairness, these were very legit phone calls where they were so passionate and they had all the swag from head to toe. And they were like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I don't have I can't afford to go out and buy new jerseys and a whole closet full of gear. So why did you do that? And so we definitely had a lot of good conversations with great fans, but it was, I mean, truly the passion that exudes from our fans. It was
Yeah.
just, it was amazing. And I think that's something that, being from Las Vegas and being from mostly West Coast, you have a lot of transplants. So when the Cubs came to town, it was probably 3/4 Cubs, quarter Diamondbacks. And so it's fun to see these people who are so passionate about their team. And I see that here in Oklahoma with college football, the
Yeah.
passion for those college football teams. I mean, it divides households and
Yeah.
legitimately, like my brother and I went to Arizona State and University of Arizona. So like our household is divided, but it doesn't really divide us. It does, like life goes on, but it's really interesting. I love to see the passion of people when it comes to sports.
Well, she's recently, I forget, maybe about 2018, maybe a little bit before, somewhere around there, she changed to the Cubs. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, it was something about, I know she would really joke me a lot over the last few years and say, I think his name is Jason Howard, was my brother because he was like a son. So I'm like, so she was upset about something that happened with him. I don't remember. You probably know, but it
she
was,
said,
yeah. And so I mean, my family was shocked. We were like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" So
did
yeah,
you have
so
a
now
bonfire in the back to burn all the Braves gear or?
no, she does have some of it, not all of it, but she's Cubs head to toe now.
Okay. That's a great team to be a fan of.
So
I
in my
appreciate that.
in my entire 50 years on this earth, it's been two teams, Braves and Cubs. So that's it.
I love your mom already.
Yes. So kind of pushing back a little bit, you said that in with this new generation, you have taken on the task of really having this authentic conversation with them of how things are going and how to maneuver and things like that. That is not something that I hear as the norm. The authenticity of it, the transparency of it, so needed.
Yeah.
I applaud you and I honor you because, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. The new generation, I believe, are an amazing group of people. And I feel like a lot of times they get the short end of the stick because the older ones, us, sometimes we perceive them in a not so good light. Yeah, there are some bad apples in every
Sure.
generation,
Right.
but we cannot live without this new generation. Let's be honest.
They're going to be taking care. I mean, someone's going to take care of us when we as we go along. And I agree with you. I think the authenticity is something that, I really strive to do as an entrepreneur, as just a human, as a parent, as a wife, sister, all the things, right? And so I agree. I think that my husband and I meet with our friends who are always like, hey, we're having a baby. Will you guys talk to us about the real life parenting? And I'm like, look, it's not all cute toilet paper commercials and puppies. Like, it's a lot of work, and you're gonna not, I mean, all the things, like, we really truly try to dive in. And I think that's really important, and not to scare people, but it's to have that honest conversation of, okay, here's what you can expect. And I guess that's also how we operate too, is we're very much on setting expectations. That way everyone kind of knows what the level of success is, in my opinion. And so I really truly think that communicating that and being authentic, because everyone needs to have that person you can go to and said, I had a really crap day, I don't know what to do, or whatever that might be. And you need that. I would really truly think that the authenticity, and that's, as a woman in business coming up through my career, I didn't have a lot of female mentors, and that was really tough. And as I've gotten older, I've gravitated and pulled from people, sort of, I put together mentors, if you will. But that was most successful by me being my authentic self and saying, I don't understand how this happens. How do I do this? I'm having this challenge. And the only functional way to use those people, and not use them, but to use their wisdom, is by being authentic. And so you're not going to get anything out of it if you're not authentic. And I think personally going through my career, it was always in such a man's world that it was very much, okay, I'm just going to pretend I know everything and not ask questions. And that was such a flaw. And I think that I would have benefited so much more by asking questions, really being curious, because as an adult, quote unquote, I never feel like an adult, but I do feel like I love the curiosity. I love when people are asking questions and they're wanting to understand and really get into that nitty gritty of, why did you make that decision? What does this budget line mean? And so I think that I want to encourage anyone listening to do that, to be curious, to pull that 3-year-old curiosity that's in the other room and put it to use, because I think people really truly love that they love that you're trying to figure something out, because we all want to know more about each other or what we're doing. And so that's why you have this podcast, right? There's people out there doing things that are so interesting. And so I think that the more we can be authentic to ourselves, we can give it to others. And so I think that's just so important.
So let me ask you this, Amy, how would you encourage someone who is looking for a mentor? How would you encourage them to be vulnerable, be their authentic self, and say, listen, I'm putting myself on the line. I need your assistance. Can you help me? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that want the help. They want the assistance. They just don't know how to be that vulnerable. Because listen, putting yourself out there and saying, I don't know, can be scary.
It's so scary. Absolutely. I think a couple of things. One example that popped into my head, I'm doing some work with the Idea Center at Notre Dame, and they had a more or less a pitch competition. And so I met with 5 or 6 different people who were talking about their businesses and how I could help them, and just brain picking ideas. And the one guy followed up with me and said, hey, could I have a follow-up call with you? I had a couple of questions that we didn't have time to answer. Could I follow up with you? And then when I talked to him, he said, would you be willing to meet with me once a month or whatever is comfortable for you, so I can run some ideas and some things that we're working on that you might be able to answer? I said, absolutely. Because for me, and not everyone has that personality, I get that. But it was just that ask of, just like you said, it's that being that vulnerability, saying, I'm not sure I know how to do all of this. Could I come back to you when I start putting together my revenue model? Yeah, sure. Happy to help. And so it's that conversation of doing that. I would say on the collegiate level, a lot of colleges are putting together genius bars and different opportunities to connect with alumni, because that benefits the college. It also benefits the student. And so I would say purely asking and knowing that, and here's what I tell people, because I came from the school of, you don't ask for help. Yeah. And you have to remember that you're also providing something. So if you and I met, you're probably feeding in helping me grow in so many ways, but I'm probably helping you grow in so many ways too, even if I'm learning from you and you're the area expert. And so remember that you are too bringing something to the table. And I think that about my students, for example, they're bringing some to the table. I'm learning a lot of things from them. I'm gathering what they think about the world, maybe different trends, different things that I don't have the eyeballs on. And so everyone brings something to the table. Everyone has their own version of smart. So remember that. Don't feel like you're putting someone out. Obviously don't maybe ask to see them every day, but it's one of those that's a great way to do it. And then there's programs, one I really like, called Forward Women. So they're based in the Dallas area, but they do a mentorship program. They ask women to sign up and to be mentors and mentees to sign up. And they've done for me and from those I know who've used it, a really great job of looking at truly not only what your job is and how that kind of syncs up, but your personality traits. And so I really like that. I was given a mentor in Dallas, Heidi, and Heidi's fantastic. And we don't meet as regular because they have a regular program that they put you through, that they make you do worksheets and different things, which is great because it keeps you on track. But she and I still, every once in a while, we just text last night. I said, okay, I'll call you on my drive to work one day and let's just catch up. And so I think that is so important to have that. And she's motivating me by saying, you've got this, you're great. And so it's really we need that. And so I would say that there's formal programs like Forward Women, but there's also informal ones of people you just meet and you click with and you think, I really want to learn what you might have to teach me. I just want to listen. I want to be a sponge. And so there's nothing wrong with asking someone for coffee or a phone call. I mean, Zoom is so easy now. Why not? And so just ask. It never hurts to ask. And my husband always says, the answer is no, unless you ask.
Exactly.
There's something about like, okay, you're right. I'm just going to go ask. And so what? They tell me no, or I'm too busy, whatever. Okay.
And I love just this idea of pushing forward the thought of reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
It is so key. I had a call prior to this one this morning, and as I was doing my makeup, I became very grateful because, as I said, I have a daughter who's 24. She'll be 25 this year, and she and I are extremely close. She lives in another state. She moved to another state, but we talk all the time. And she recently took a trip out of the country, and she had been sending me pictures and things while she was out of the country. And she said, Mom, look at my makeup. It's just flawless. She said, there's no filters or anything like that. And so, I said, well, what makeup are you using? And so the other day I sent her a text. I said, hey, do you mind sending me a picture of all of the makeup that you're using now? Because I'd like to, go and purchase it because it was that good.
Mm-hmm.
And so she immediately just sent everything. And so as I was getting ready this morning, I was just so extremely grateful that I'm not sitting here saying, well, I'm the mom, I should
Mm-hmm.
know, but I have a relationship with this kid to the point where I can go to her and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about, she's an esthetician. And just like,
Perfect. We all need her in our lives.
yeah, so it's nothing for me to just message her and say, hey, what do you think about these prices? What do you think about this,
Mm-hmm.
this work or something like that? And she'll say, no, Mom, just go to someone, whatever the case.
Right.
Just the idea of me going to her for advice, it's not a one-way street.
That's
And once
exactly
we
it.
have it in our minds that it's that reciprocity, it is literally, we can both help one another. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that you're pushing that and really opening that up for people, because we need to have that idea out here. Because I tell people all the time, if people actually step into their purpose and they begin to do the things that they should be doing and helping one another, we'll see less voids and less fails in this world.
Absolutely. I think because if you acknowledge that you're not the best at everything, then it keeps you humble, obviously.
Yeah.
But it allows you to build a team and to build a community around you that supports you in the areas that you are maybe not your strengths. And I mean, all of us have taken those team builders and this and that. And you look at it and say, well, I want to hire all the people like me because they're fun. because we get along and we're all in the same brain, but we're not looking for a BFF. You're looking
Right.
for a solid work team. And so that person who wants to analyze the data, who probably would drive me nuts because I don't do data analysis, I need that person because I'm not doing it. And so it's one of those, it's the same idea of, it's a two-way street with whether it's a younger generation, whether it's an older generation. It's how do we all continue to complement each other in the world versus we don't need a whole world of Amy's, because God forbid, that would be awful. But you know, I think it's really important. There would be no data analysis. It would be terrible. And so it's one of those that I think that the more that we can just continue to say, hey, I don't know anything, and just be a little bit humble. I mean, I think especially as an entrepreneur, you need that confidence. You need to be maybe just a tiny bit excited about yourself. It's hard because you get knocked down all the time. But the more that you continue to build that community around you that supports you and builds you up, the better off you're going to be.
Absolutely. So Amy, tell us how those that are listening, those that are watching, how we can get in touch with you.
Well, the best way is Instagram. We are Last Night's Game, and you'll see me on there. This sort of the day in the life of an entrepreneur in the stories. And try to make it entertaining. We also obviously cover sports. So we have daily conversation starters every weekday. That is something that's happening in the world of sports. That's kind of a fun little nugget to share with your coworkers at the proverbial water cooler. And so we do that every week. And that's a lot of fun to just kind of find stuff that's interesting and ties in with pop culture. Also, we're on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. But our website is lastnightsgame.com. And our podcast is called Sports Curious. It's a 5-minute podcast once a week, diving into something happening in the world of sports that week.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So any last words of wisdom for those that are listening?
You know, I think let's take away what the answer is always no, unless you ask. And it's a two-way street. Let's continue to build a better community and continue to support each other. And when someone asks you that question, think about it before you say no. But also remember, when you say yes to someone else, make sure you're not saying no to yourself.
Ooh, that's good. I love it.
Thanks.
I love it. Absolutely good stuff. So Amy, thank you so very much for being with us on the show today. Folks, this has been another great episode of Go Be Great with Coach Karena, and I will see you all on the flip side. Bye for now.